Hi, good morning. This is Ashish Gupta. I'm from Microexcel. Welcome to everyone for the webinar of Security in Office 365. So in this presentation, we will see how secure Office 365 is, what are different security measures Microsoft has taken in order to secure our data, and how we can apply our business policies or industry standards, business regulations in our company so that users follow them. They understand that um, how they should treat the confidential documents. They should not share them outside with unauthorized people. So we will cover all these things in this presentation. So let's have a quick look at what all topics we will cover. So first thing we will see DLP, which is Data Loss Prevention and Office 365 Compliance Center. So under this topic, we will see document fingerprinting in Exchange Online, which means that how we can protect our standard documents which are used in our industry, in our company, from sharing by email. And after that, we will see e-discovery in SharePoint Online. So that means how the compliance managers or legal officers, they can discover, they can find out the sensitive documents or the confidential documents in all SharePoint Online sites and OneDrive for business sites. And after discovering them, they can either block them so that unauthorized people can't see them and can't accidentally share them, or they can just notify the people like site owners or document owners so that they can take the corrective action before they can be shared with other people. After that, we'll see advanced data encryption. So we will see how Microsoft has secured the data in Office 365, whether the data is moving across the servers or data is just sitting in the system. In all the cases, how Microsoft is handling the encryption and the security of the data. And at the end, we will see RMS, Rights Management Service. So that means that how we can embed the rights, the permissions into the document so that even if it is downloaded from SharePoint and you have an offline copy of it, still the permissions are embedded into it so that only authorized people can see the document or can make a copy of the document, can save it, can print it. So this all we can control that who can do what even after downloading the document. So these topics will tell us that how much security has been applied in Office 365 and how we can have our team members to follow the business regulations. So let's first see DLP, data loss prevention. So what does that really mean? So as we know that users in their SharePoint Online sites or in the documents, they can store some confidential information. So confidential means they can store some personal identifiable information like some credit card numbers, social security numbers, or any passport numbers or something. Or they can have some industry specific some confidential information. So we understand that if these sensitive information is shared with outside people, outside of the organization or any unauthorized person, then how much the company can lose the data. It will be a big data loss for the company. So how Office 365 can prevent this data loss, that we will see in this topic. So with the DLP policy, so we actually create some policies in this DLP page in Office 365 by which we can protect those sensitive documents. We can block the access for those documents so that people understand that these documents should not be shared with the unauthorized people and they can follow the company policies. This DLP protects the documents which are uploaded in the document libraries, the list items. In any custom list, you may have some confidential information in any column that is also covered, and any attachment with the list items. So all these things DLP policies can protect. Now, as a business case, as we understand that SharePoint Online or Office 365, these things are exposed to internet. So any person can access these sites on their personal device. by using internet. So it becomes very important that we secure our sensitive documents which are stored in SharePoint Online or OneDrive for business sites. Now, one thing important here to note is that DLP policies protect those documents which are indexed by SharePoint search or which are recognizable by SharePoint search. So we know that what all are the file types which can be crawled by SharePoint search. Those file types can be scanned by the DLP policies in order to find out the sensitive content. So let's have a quick look on this article which shows what are the default crawled file types in SharePoint 2013. So the same files can be scanned by these DLP policies. So this article will list out all those file types, and as we know them, the default file types like office files or emails or messages, the text files. So let me show you on this article. So you see here on my screen file format. So email messages, HTML, MHTML, the office files, OneNote, text files, all these files. So SharePoint search crawls them and the index is updated, and then the DLP policy uses that indexed content. So the question comes that what are different types of sensitive information which DLP can find out. So DLP policies can find out 80 types of sensitive information. So some examples are like credit card numbers, social security numbers, and in fact other countries' national IDs as well, bank account numbers, driver's license numbers, passport numbers, and many more things. So let's see in this TechNet article, all those sensitive types which DLP can find out, they are listed here. So we will see their names. So here we see that the routing number, the bank account number, and not just for US, but all different countries, because these numbers are with the standard format. They have a fixed pattern of the numbers. So DLP policies can find out those numbers in the document, and those documents can be reported as sensitive documents. So here you can see that US bank account number, driver's license, ITIN, and SSN. Okay. Now let's see what all DLP policies can do. So as I mentioned earlier, it can identify the sensitive information of the types which we just saw. It can identify the sensitive information in different locations, like all the SharePoint Online sites, all the OneDrive for business sites, file share, and Exchange Online. So if you have documents stored in file share, then you can provide that path in the policy, and then policy will go through those documents and find out the sensitive information in those documents. Now, after identifying, it can prevent the accidental sharing of that sensitive information. So it can block the access to that content so that users don't share them accidentally with others. We can also monitor and protect this same kind of sensitive information in Office 2016 programs as well, like Excel 2016, PowerPoint 2016, and Word 2016. So Microsoft has included the DLP policies in the Office 2016 programs as well. With these DLP policies, we can help users learn that how to stay compliant without interrupting their workflow. So we can just notify them, and all these DLP policies can work behind the scene. Users don't really need to know, and once the policy identifies any document, the policy can send out an email to the users, or it can block the content, but then users can continue their work. Okay. There is also reporting mechanism in DLP where the management can see a report, a dashboard, that how many such sensitive documents exist in all their SharePoint Online sites and OneDrive for business sites, and then they can talk to those people who have last modified those documents or who own those documents, and they can say that since it's a confidential document, so you should treat it carefully. You should not share it outside with unauthorized people. So let's have a quick look at how this DLP policy looks like internally. What's the internal architecture of this policy? So there are two main portions of this DLP policy. One is locations, another is rules. So in the location, we specify the source of the data or the location of the data which needs to be scanned. So that location could be SharePoint online sites and OneDrive for business sites. So documents could be in any of these sites. So we can say to the policy that scan these sites, or we can say scan all the SharePoint online sites and all the OneDrive for business sites and identify the sensitive information in the document. So that is first part of the policy. Second is the rules. So in the rules, there are two main parts, conditions and actions. So in the condition we specify, we tell the policy that if my content or if my document contains any sensitive information, so that's a condition. And then if it is found, then action is either you block access to the content or you can just send a notification. So it all depends upon the requirement that what condition we want to apply and what action we want to take. We can completely block the access to the content if that's what management direction is, or initially we can just send a notification to the people that, hey, this is a sensitive document, so you should not share it with outside people. And once we collect this data, we have the full approval from management, we can enforce the policy and we can block access to that content completely. Now, another question comes in that what's the frequency that how DLP policy checks the content, that does any document have any sensitive information. So the process for that is, as we know that users can upload a new content or they can modify any existing content. So at any point of time they can include the sensitive information in the content, or they can remove the sensitive information from the document. So as we know, the process is that initially a user uploads a document in a library. Then after some time, as per the search incremental crawl schedule, the document is crawled by search. And after crawl, the document is indexed. The index is updated. So as we know that search extracts the data and the permission from that content so that it can be searched. It also extracts the sensitive information from that index content. So with all these three information, data, permission, and sensitive content, after that DLP policy keeps querying that search index, which has the indexed or the crawled content. And once DLP policy finds the content with the sensitive information, whatever we have given in the conditions of the DLP policy, then the corresponding action is executed. So if DLP policy finds a document where there are credit card numbers stored, then whatever action we have defined in the policy, it kicks in and the corresponding action is executed. So this process just keeps going on. Users upload the content or modify content, search crawls it, the index is updated, and DLP policy queries the search index. So that's how all the content just keeps getting queried by the policy. So I'll show you a demo that how we can create a policy in Office 365 and how we can make sure that documents are the sensitive documents are not shared with outside people, how they behave when the policy detects them. So for that, I'm going to my test tenant. So here, so this is my one Office 365 tenant. I'm going to the admin center. Okay, let me enter the password. So this is the admin center of my Office 365 tenant. And if I come down, okay, it will ask for the authorization. I will just cancel it for now. Okay. So here on the left hand side under admin center, you will see a link security and compliance. Here we define all the DLP policies, to create the policy to identify the sensitive documents. So I click that and it opens in the new tab. So this is Security and Compliance Center of Office 365. So on left hand side you see different sections where one is security policies, and under that the link is data loss prevention. So I click that, where I will see what all policies are created for this tenant. So currently I see I created two policies here for demo purpose. One is credit card sharing policy, another is SSN sharing policy. So you can see here they were last created like few days before, a month before, and their status, like are they on, are they enforced, or I'm just testing out. So I'll tell you the meaning of what is the meaning of status on and what is the meaning of testing with the policy tips. So first I'm double clicking it to see the detail of this policy. So as I mentioned in my slide that in a DLP policy, there are two sections, two parts. One is locations, another is rules. So under locations, you can specify that what is the source of the data or what is the location of the data which we want to scan. So first is SharePoint Online. So you can say search all my SharePoint Online sites. Or if we are sure that only particular department or particular group of people, if only they can store such sensitive content, then we can uh, um, we can select only those specific um, SharePoint Online sites. So for now, I have selected all SharePoint Online sites. And the second is OneDrive for business sites. So again, we can tell the policy that search in all the OneDrive for business sites or select the specific sites. The next part is the rules. So here in the rule, we specify the condition and action. So I have created one rule, credit card checker. So let's see the detail of this rule. So here I have mentioned one condition, which is credit card number. So the condition is content contains sensitive information. So basically we are telling the policy that show me those content which contains this sensitive information, and I have included credit card number. So how can I add more types of sensitive information here? So by clicking add, I see here all types of sensitive information is listed here. So I can take any of them to fulfill my need. So here I can list out all those sensitive information. I can add another condition that if the content contains sensitive information and if the content is shared with people outside my organization. So if it is shared with outside people, then it is more sensitive for me. So I can combine these two conditions to find out such sensitive documents. Then next is actions. So in the action, I have written that block people from sending email or accessing shared documents. So I'm saying that if the policy finds a document which has the credit card numbers, then just block the access to that document, right? I can add another action saying sending a notification. So I can just say that just send an email or block the content as well as send an email too. So I can combine these two actions. So in this email notification, I can say that send email to the owner or the person who shared or the owner of the content. I can send email to a group of people in my organization or any authorized legal manager or compliance manager. I can send email to any of them. Also, I can control here that what will be the message of the email. So either I can go with the default email message, or based on my company policy, I can write some custom message here, which users will see. And apart from email notification, I can also notify a policy tip to the users saying, so once users hover over on the document, they will see one tip that this is a sensitive document, this conflicts with the company organizing policy, so do not share it with other people. Or I can have my custom message based on my company policy. There is another thing Microsoft has given here that we can override our policy. So there may be cases where a policy detected some sensitive document, but that is not really a sensitive document. maybe it has some set of numbers, but they are not really the sensitive numbers. So in those cases, we can allow users to override the policy. So they can say it's a false positive. It's not really a sensitive document. Or even if it is a sensitive document, users can say that I have approval from the management to share this document with our other third-party vendors or someone. So in that case, they can override, and then policy will not check that document. So these are some actions we can take on identifying the sensitive documents. Another part of this policy is incident reports. So we can send the report for these documents to any person. We can include here a group of people or any management or administrator here. And in the email or in the report, we can include that who owns the document, who last modified the document. So all these different information will help management to identify that who really owns the document, and they can talk to that person. In the general, this is just the name of the rule and this optional description of the rule. Here you are seeing the checkbox. So anytime if we feel that this rule is not applicable for our organization, then we can turn it off. So this is the rule of this policy, and let's go to general. So in general, this is the name of the policy and the description. Here you see that there are three options. So we can turn it on and start enforcing this policy. We can also test it out. So we can say that right now we are just testing that how many such documents exist in our SharePoint online sites or OneDrive for business sites. And we can just collect the data, and we can notify people by email or the policy tips so that their work is not interrupted. And once we collect all this data, we can show it to management and take their approval that, hey, can we enforce this policy now? So after that point, we can come here and say turn it on. Or if we don't want to turn it on, or anytime we want to turn it off, we can then turn this policy off. So that is one policy I created. Another policy is for social security numbers. So this is also pretty much same, except that in the rules, if I go inside this SSN checker rule, so here I'm checking for the US social security numbers. And I provided one more condition here, that also if the document is shared with outside of my organization. So in these cases, if these two conditions are met, then this action will be taken. So in this policy, I said that just notify the people with the tip and the email so that they are aware of our company policy. So let's have a look. I created one test site collection in SharePoint Online. So let's see what the policy did with those documents. So this is one demo site collection. So here, this is one document library where I have some sensitive documents. So this document contains the credit card numbers, and this document contains social security numbers. So let me open this document. So these are just some test, some fake numbers I wrote here. So the policy detected it, and then let me go to another document, social security numbers. So let me open this document. So here you are seeing some fake social security numbers. So the pattern was found by the policy, right? So based on my rules, the credit card number policy, I wrote that block the access to the content. So you are seeing this, and with the tooltip also, that access to this item is blocked. It conflicts with the policy. So since I am the owner of this site and this document, I can see this document. For this document, it is just a warning symbol. I just want to notify people with the policy tip, not really block the content. So here on the policy tip, you can see that this item conflicts with the policy in your organization. So let's see if another person who is not owner of the document, if he sees this document, then what will happen? Can he see the sensitive documents or no. So I'm logging on to my same tenant with another user. So I'm browsing the same site collection with a test user. So this is another user on my team. So here you can see I'm not seeing with this user the credit card document. So with the block access, other users won't even see the document and hence they cannot share this document with other people. However, this person can see this document because this is just a warning. I did not say that block the access to this document in my this SSN policy. So that's why users can see, but they can also see the policy too. So in this way, they can learn that what are the company policies, what is considered as a sensitive document, and then what they should do or they should not do with the sensitive document. So let's go back to our presentation. So we covered the DLP policies from Office 365 Compliance Center. Now let's see the document fingerprinting in Exchange Online. So what this is actually. So in organizations, as we know that different departments collect the sensitive information in terms of forms. So like HR department gives us the forms and they collect our personal information, like some name, day, address, date of birth or phone numbers or other things, the social security numbers, any employment related forms or something, or even our other departments, say finance department or legal department, they may have some standard custom forms which are specific to the organization, and they may have some confidential customer related information or any finance related information of the company. So if such documents are shared outside with the people by email, then we can see that how much data or the uh, data can be lost by the company. So how we can protect such forms from sharing by email. So in this topic, we will see that. So document fingerprinting is nothing but it's like a blueprint or the scanning of the template of the document. Okay, so we will see how this document fingerprinting works in Exchange Online and how we can protect such standard documents from sharing by email. So let's see that how we can protect the document. So basically how it works is we first take the blank template of that document which we want to protect. So in that template we want to make sure that there are headers in the document, and it is a blank document. The fields are not actually filled by the people. It's a blank with the headers. We upload this document in the policy. Okay, so the policy scans this document, the text and the headers in the document, and then after that, any person who shares this document, even by filling the value in the fields, but the headers should be same. So if any person shares such document by email, the exchange policy, it just keeps checking the attachments in the email. So it detects those attachments in the email, and once it sees that this document matches with the standard document what we uploaded in the policy, then it takes the corresponding action, whatever action we have defined in the policy. So it may either block the message, it will not allow a sender to send the email, or it can just show a policy tip, or it can CC or BCC some other managers or compliance managers so that they are aware that what's going on, or it can show some disclaimer message, automatically add a disclaimer line at the bottom of the email, or it can detect many things, or it can take action, different kind of actions. So this is the basic way that how fingerprinting works in Exchange Online. Okay. Now let's see that what kind of file types are supported for this Exchange Online transport rule. So here, the basic Office files or PDF or text files, all these types of files are supported because the DLP policy in Exchange Online can read the content of these file types and it can protect our sensitive documents. So all these file types are listed in this TechNet article also. So let me show you this article. So here you can see that what kind of file types are supported in the message attachment. If I come down, so here these are the supported file types. So Office files, PDF, and all that. Okay. Now there are some limitations in document fingerprinting policy of Exchange Online. So the first limitation is that if a person who is attaching a file in the email, if that file is password protected, then the policy cannot read the text of that attachment, and hence the policy cannot know that if this document is stored in my policy. So in order to protect the document, it should be able to read the content of the document, and then only it can check whether it's a sensitive document or not based on the template stored in the policy. So that is one limitation. Second is, if the file which is being attached, if it contains only images, no text, then also policy cannot check that, because there is no optical scanning. It is only text scanning of the document. And third is, if the document which is being attached and the document template which we uploaded in the policy, if the basic format of the document or the headers of the document, if they don't match, then policy cannot detect or cannot say that this is a sensitive document. So these are the three limitations of document fingerprinting in Exchange Online. So now let me show you, I have created a test policy in my Office 365 tenant, and I will show you that how a policy is created and how when this works, then how a person who is sending an email to the outside people, how this policy detects that document and what action is taken. So let me go to so I'm back to my Office 365 tenant admin center, and I'm going back to the security and compliance center. So here you see the link to configure DLP policies for email. Go to Exchange Admin Center. So I click on this link, and it shows me pop-up message, a dialog box where different policies, what we have defined for Exchange, they are shown here. So on this page, in this section, you will see what all policies have been defined for email. So let's see from the top. So first thing is manage policy tips. So that means that whatever policy tip you want to show to the users as part of the action when the policy detects a sensitive document, when a person is sending email, if you want to show a custom policy tip, you can configure those policy tips here based on the company policy. So those tips, we can include them in our action and they will be shown to the users. So that is one thing. Second, with this link, manage document fingerprints, here we actually upload that blank document or the template which we want to protect. So I created one document fingerprinting for employee information form, and I uploaded one a basic document, one docx file. So this is just a blank template with just the headers, and when a person shares this document with filled values in that, it will be detected by the policy. So these things I configured, and then I actually created a policy here by clicking plus. So I created a policy, employee information form DLP, okay, and I'm enforcing it. So let's see the detail of this policy what I created. I double click this. So here this is the name of the policy and this is the description of the policy. So I enabled the policy, and anytime you can disable if it is no longer applicable for the organization. And with these options, you can either enforce the policy or you can just test it out with policy tip or without policy tip, right? Now, in the rules, so I created a rule for this policy. So I double click that and see the detail of this rule. So here, the first thing is the name of the rule. And then these two things show the condition of this rule. So I said that if the recipient is located outside the organization, Okay, so currently I want to protect my document if anyone shares those documents outside of my organization. So other options are, you can say inside the organization or external partner or non-partner. Okay. Then second condition, I said the message contains any of these sensitive information types. So in this option, I selected my this document fingerprint, which I uploaded earlier as I showed you. So this is that blank template document which I uploaded. This thing, I'm saying that if the message contains this thing, this document, then it will be considered a sensitive policy or the violation of the policy. So these are the conditions, and now this is the action block where I'm saying that if these conditions are met, then notify the sender with a policy tip. Okay, so I said that just notify the sender, but allow them to send, because right now I just wanna test this thing in my organization. But other things, you can say that policy should block the message. It should block the message even though it is a, unless it's a false positive. So if user says it's a false positive, or if user overwrites that, then the policy will let the user send this email. Similarly, there are other actions too. Okay, so this is one action I configured. Another action is that also generate a report and send it to these people. So I want to notify management or our legal managers that someone is sharing the sensitive documents with others, so that they know that what's happening in the company and they can take corrective action with them. So if I want to add any exception, I can do here. Other things, as I told earlier, that we can enforce the policy right now, or we can just test it out. With these things, we can say that activate this rule on this date and time. So once we show the data which we have collected by testing our policy to the management, and once management approves, we can actually activate this policy from this date and time, or we can deactivate this policy from this date and time anytime when we get the direction from management. So we can either stop or defer. So with on this page, I configured my this rule. So let's see, I show you that how this policy actually works. So I go to Outlook. I want to send an email to a person outside my organization, and I want to see that how it behaves. So I click new, and so this person is outside my this test tenant or organization. So I'm attaching a file from my computer. So I have attached this document, and you see that immediately the policy identified that this is the same document what is uploaded in the policy as a template. So it says this message appears to contain sensitive information. Make sure all recipients are authorized to receive it. So in my policy, I set the action that just notify the people with the policy tip, but allow them to send the email. So user can still send the email, but user has been notified that this is a sensitive document. And also you can see a symbol here that this is a warning symbol, and this shows that it's a sensitive document. So that's how you can see that we can protect our industry standard documents or the confidential documents from sharing by email. So we can create data loss prevention policies for email, and we can protect our documents. So that is document fingerprinting. Now let's see our another topic, e-discovery in SharePoint Online. So e-discovery means our in SharePoint Online, as we know that users can store any kind of confidential information or sensitive information. So our legal managers or compliance officers, they would like to see, they would like to discover such sensitive documents in all the SharePoint Online sites. So on demand basis, they can write the queries that show me the document where this contains some sensitive information types. Okay, and they can search in real time and it will show them the report right there, and then they can see that who owns them so that they can talk to them. So with e-discovery, they actually work in the e-discovery site. We actually create an e-discovery site collection, and there they can find out all these information. This e-discovery, since it is at the site collection level, so it is applicable for project online, because they are also SharePoint sites. So e-discovery can be applicable there, and they can find out all the project related confidential data. So as I said, that as a use case, that since these days data is in the format of electronic format, so since that electronic document is used as like for the legal auditing purpose or something, so these compliance officers, they would like to know how sensitive documents we have, how many documents in all the SharePoint online sites and OneDrive for business sites. And once they know how many such documents exist, then they can take the corresponding action for those documents. So let's see how DLP actually finds the sensitive information. So in order to find the sensitive information, DLP actually finds them by a pattern. So as we saw earlier, that what all types of sensitive information are there, like some credit card numbers, passport numbers. These are some standard numbers. They have a standard format. So by doing the regular expression, that pattern of the number is found out in those documents. So internally, Microsoft has created regular expressions and functions by which these patterns, these numbers are detected in those documents. Apart from that, there are also some keywords and checksums, like keywords like for the credit card number, it looks for some Visa or MasterCard or Discovery and those standard keywords in the document. So and similarly for the social security number, it finds a text or the words like SSN or social security number. So by finding those keywords, it can identify that it's a sensitive document. There are some other parameters also, like confidence level and proximity. So that means that we can tell our policy that if you are even 50% confident that this number is a sensitive number, or this number is really a credit card number, then also report this document to me as a sensitive document. So it may happen that a document contains some 16 numbers, some 16 digit numbers as a random number, but if our company is too sensitive about the documents, we can say that even if you are 1% confident, still let me know that what is that document. Or if we only care about the actual credit card number, then we can say that if you are 100% confident that this number is a credit card number, then only tell me. So we can specify any range in the confidence parameter of the query, and based on that confidence level, it will be reported to us as a sensitive document. And proximity means we can give a range that in these 300 characters, if you find these numbers, these sensitive numbers, then let me know, and it will be categorized as a sensitive document. So I will show you all these examples at how we can provide these parameters, how we can write a query to find the sensitive documents. Now, for the source of the data, as we saw earlier, that these policies can find the documents in SharePoint Online and on-prem SharePoint server also. So with SharePoint 2016, we can configure these policies in on-prem or with SharePoint Online. Now, one thing to note here is that e-discovery and DLP, they are the premium features and they require minimum SharePoint Online plan too. Other locations are OneDrive for business sites and file share, as we saw earlier. And DLP policies can, of course, be configured for Exchange Admin Center, as we just saw, and with Office 2016 documents also. So now let's see how these DLP policies look like, what's their internal mechanism, or what kind of parameters, what are different parts of a DLP query. So mainly there are three parts that make up the DLP query. So first thing is a sensitive type, which is a required field. Second is count range or the confidence range. And third is ending double quote, which is required. So there are two required parts of this query. One is sensitive type colon beginning quote, and then we actually write the name of that sensitive type as we saw earlier in the TechNet article, and then we close it with the double quote. These are the required parts. But as I just said, that we can specify some range of the numbers in the query. Now, what are those range, the number ranges? So first range is count range. So we can specify that if in a document you have 5 or more credit card numbers, then report this document as a sensitive document. So with this 5 or more, or say 5 or between 5 and 50 credit card numbers, you can report this document as sensitive. So we can specify that range in this query. So that is one type of range. Another is confidence range. So as I explained earlier, that between 1 to 100%, we can specify any range, like 1 to 50. Okay, I'll show you how to specify these ranges in the query. So these are some examples of queries, DLP queries. So let's see the first example, sensitive type colon beginning quote, international banking account number IBAN. So whatever sensitive types we saw in the TechNet article, those 80 types of sensitive information, we write them exactly as they are written there. We just copy from there and paste here between the double quotes. Okay, so we have to make sure that we write the exact names as written in the TechNet article. So that is one valid query. Second example is sensitive type colon credit card number pipe symbol. So we separate these count range and the confidence range with the pipe symbol. So these two are the optional part, but here we are saying that find the documents with the credit card numbers where the count range is minimum 1 and maximum this. So this is the maximum number and this is the minimum number which DLP query can find out. And this is the confidence range 1% to 100%. So basically we are saying by this query that find the documents which have any number of credit card number and any percent of confidence. Okay, so another way of writing this query was I could just write sensitive type colon beginning double quote credit card number and ending double quote. I don't really need to write these min and max numbers because we cannot go beyond them or lesser than them. The third example is sensitive type is credit card number and between 5 and 25, and then I connected another condition with AND operator saying that last sensitive content scan. So we can also say that show me those documents which were last scanned within this range. Okay, I don't want to see the documents which are like 3 years old or 4 years old, but with the last scan date I want to see. So I can specify the date range that between Feb 2016 to March 2016, show me those documents only. So this query will show those documents. Then another example is sensitive type is credit card number 5 to 25. The scan date is this. And if I know that my files are not really Excel files, the sensitive number, the credit card number might be in the Word documents or some other documents, but not in Excel files. So I can exclude the Excel file types by saying not file extension XLSX. And the last example is I can connect different types of sensitive information by or AND operators. I can say if it contains credit card number or social security numbers, show me these documents. Now let's see examples of unsupported queries or the invalid queries. Okay, so first example is credit card number, pipe symbol, dot dot. So this is not a valid count range or confidence range. There has to be one number minimum when we are specifying the range, like minimum 1 to something or any number to this. So either min or max needs to be specified here. In the second example, sensitive type is not a rule. So not a rule is not a valid sensitive type. So this is not a correct query. Then credit card number, pipe symbol 0. 0 is not a valid number. We cannot say that show me the document where there is no credit card number. That doesn't make sense. In the next example, sensitive type is credit card number. So here if you actually notice, there is a space between credit and card. So as I said earlier, that this type should be exactly written in the same way as it's written in the TechNet article. There should not be, it's case sensitive, and there should not be any space there. In next example, you see that there are too many pipe symbols. So after the credit card number, there's a blank after the pipe symbol, and then the count range and the confidence range. So this first pipe symbol is unnecessary here. And then in the last example, if you observe the confidence range, which is 80 to 101, so 101 is not a valid confidence range. It cannot exceed 100%. So let's see how we can set up e-discovery in SharePoint Online and how the managers, the legal managers, the compliance managers, how they can write the DLP query in those sites and find out the sensitive documents. So as a high-level step, we create e-discovery center site collection, so which is nothing but a site collection in SharePoint Online or SharePoint On-Prem with e-discovery center's site template. Okay, so after we do that, in order to find the document in Exchange Online, we set up Exchange Online as a result source in the root site of e-discovery center. So here we have to remember that we have to set up the result source in the root site only, not in the subsites. Then we create a security group for e-discovery managers who will actually come to that site collection and do the query and find out the sensitive documents. So we create a security group in Exchange Online, in Exchange Admin Center, and add the e-discovery managers there, and then grant permission to this e-discovery manager to this e-discovery site collection. So we assign the permission to the e-discovery managers in SharePoint Online. So we actually need to grant permission in all the SharePoint Online sites and all the OneDrive for Business sites, because unless they have permission, they cannot see the document. So we have to make them as a site collection admin in SharePoint Online sites and OneDrive for Business sites. Now, if company thinks that there is no need to give them permission in all the site collections, then only departmental sites or the sensitive sites, like for HR sites, finance sites, any legal sites, accounting, operation, those site collections, we can make them as a site collection admin so that they can see the sensitive documents. Then we also assign permission for the e-discovery managers in Exchange Online so that they can see the messages. And then inside that e-discovery site collection, we create e-discovery cases. So case is nothing but a subsite in that e-discovery site collection. So what is the actually meaning of the case? Case means in a company, we can create different scenarios or different groups, like, okay, you handle the personal sensitive information or the HR related information, or one group can handle the finance related sensitive information. Another group can handle legal related sensitive information. So this is nothing but creating different subsites so that we can group the people, we can grant the permission in different subsites, and they can work on their own subsites and find out the sensitive information. And then last piece is the queries. So in these cases, in these subsites, they actually write the DLP queries to find out the sensitive information. So this is at very high level. You can see this article which I have mentioned in my slide. It has a detailed information about all these steps, that how to set up e-discovery site collection and the DLP queries in SharePoint Online. So I will show you, I have created some test e-discovery site and some queries in that site collection. So I will show you how to write the queries and how to search the documents based on those queries. So if I go to my site collection, so I created one e-discovery site collection with this URL, e-discovery2, and this is the template of e-discovery center, as you can see here. So here I created different cases. So I created one case, one subsite, which is personal info. So in this subsite, the e-discovery managers can find out the documents which have personal sensitive information. So this is the home page of this case where you can see e-discovery sets, in-place hold, queries, and export status. So what is e-discovery set? So in e-discovery set, you can specify the location of the content, like in which SharePoint online sites you want to search for the content, or in which OneDrive for business sites you want to search for the sensitive content. So I created one set, sensitive info. So let me show you the detail of that. So these are the sources. I defined the sources that in which location I want to scan the documents for the sensitive information. So I gave some OneDrive for business site, one SharePoint online site. You can see the type of the source here. Okay. And in place hold, that means that we can place a hold on this content. That means SharePoint will create a copy of the content and put them in a separate hold library so that that content, the original content, is preserved. And users can continue working with their content. They can then modify the content or do something. But one copy is preserved so that these discovery managers can look at that content at any time. Okay. So now let me show you the queries. So I created some queries for my this case. So first is SSN query. So you can see query right here. Sensitive type is equal to US Social Security number. Okay. Let me show you the detail. So I click on this name of my query. So this is the name and this is the box where you actually write the query. Okay. Now here you can further you can narrow down the search results by saying start date, end date of the scan date, and author who actually authored those documents, so that you can see the limited number of documents. Now this second part is sources. So here we actually define the scope of the query, like where this query should find out for the sensitive documents based on this criteria what we have given. So I click modify query scope. So here I can say all case content. If I want whatever content I have defined in my this case, I can this query will find out there, or I can say search everything. Okay, I don't right now. I'm not worrying about what discovery set I have created. I'm saying search in all SharePoint online sites or in all exchange. Another option is I can say select. So whatever e-discovery sets, as I showed in the beginning, one set I have created, but if I would have created multiple sets, so I could select from those sets, like in which set I want to search the sensitive document. Or I can say whatever sources I have created in my e-discovery set, from which source I want to search the document. So this is basically the scope for the document. So let's click search now. And based on this query and the scope, it found 4 documents. So you can see the detail here that this is a Word document, who are the authors of this document, and the location also. So this is in OneDrive for business site. This is one user has one sensitive document in his OneDrive for business site. So we found that. So let me click this file, which is an Excel file, and we can see the content, that what numbers this file has. So here in this Excel file, you can see that in the SSN column, there are different social security numbers, and the policy found this document as a sensitive document. So this document contains employee data, which is really a sensitive document. So after this e-discovery managers find it, they can then talk to the site owners. So this is one query, social security numbers. Now let's see another one, say credit cards 5 or more. So here I wrote the query as sensitive type, credit card number, pipe symbol, 5 dot dot. It means 5, and max number I don't care how many, but if there are minimum 5 credit card numbers in any document, then show me that document. So here also in the query scope, I'm saying search in all SharePoint online sites. So now let me search it. So this query found 4 documents which has 4 or more credit card numbers. Here I would like to show one thing, that this AIK, I click this. So this is actually a list item. This is not a document uploaded in a library. It is a list item and one document is attached here. So policy identified one attachment also. Okay. So in this way you can see that e-discovery managers can find out such sensitive documents by doing the real-time search. They can export the result. They can either export just a report of it, how many documents, or they can export the real document. It says that how many items, what is the size, total size of the document, and after downloading they can keep them preserved with themselves and ask users to delete these documents from SharePoint Online. So in this way, users, e-discovery managers can find out the sensitive documents in all SharePoint Online sites and OneDrive for Business sites. Now let's see, as I mentioned in the beginning, that how Microsoft is making sure that data is secured in Office 365. So as I said, that Office 365 is a highly secured environment, because here Microsoft is providing multiple layers of security, or there's an extensive protection of the data. So it includes but not limited to the physical data center security, network security, access security, application security, and data security. So here in this topic, we will see that how the data is secured when data is moving and data is at rest. So what is the meaning of data is moving and data is at rest? That when data is actually moving across the servers, or when we are requesting the data, when data comes from server to client, in those cases how data is secured. And when data is at rest, when data is in system, in the databases or somewhere, then how the data is secured. So we will see in both the cases. So what are different cases where the data is actually moving? So first scenario is when we request a data, when we browse a SharePoint site, a data is requested from server and it is served to the client. So there is a communication between client and the server. In that case, Office 365 uses SSL connections, and all these SSL connections use 2048-bit keys. So with this SSL, the data is fully secured while the data is in transit. So that is one scenario. Another scenario is data movement between data centers. So Microsoft is keeping the data copy in different data centers or in different servers. And the reason for that is so that in case of any disaster, they can enable disaster recovery and for the geo replication. So for these reasons, data is moving across different data centers. So they, even during this time, data is fully secured by using the private network. And that is also further protected with best-in-class encryption. So whether data is moving between client and server or between the servers or across data centers, data is fully secured. Now, another case is when data is at rest, when data is in the system, how the data is secured. So there are two components for the encryption of data at rest. First is BitLocker disk level encryption. So BitLocker is a new security feature in Windows operating system where it encrypts the entire disk where the data is actually present. So entire disk is encrypted, so data is secured there. Also, the data or the files which we actually upload in SharePoint, they are also encrypted. So first of all, disk is encrypted and every file that is also encrypted. Okay, and all these encryptions use advanced encryption standard AES with 256-bit, which is compliant with Federal Information Processing Center FIPS 140-2. Okay, so we are not going into the detail of AES and FIPS in this presentation. So let's further understand that how this data level or the file level encryption is actually maintained in Office 365. So we will see in this that how Microsoft is storing the file and how Microsoft is encrypting the files. So first of all, the files are stored in the blob storage. Okay, we know that blob means it's a binary large object, and just if I give a simple example of the blob, that is nothing but a document in a document library. So a document could be a very large document. It could be one audio file or video file, or with large images or the files embedded into a presentation file. So a file could be in GBs, right? So that's a large object. That's a binary large object. So we can either store this binary large object or the content in content database, which we typically do in our normal SharePoint installations, or we can store this blob content on a separate server, which is away from the SQL server. Okay, so Microsoft is using blob storage for Office 365. Now, when a file is actually uploaded in SharePoint Online, it is broken into pieces depending on its size. Okay, each of those files, those file pieces, are encrypted by the encryption keys. Those encrypted file pieces are stored in the blob store or the blob containers. Okay, these blob containers are also encrypted. They have their own credentials. So first of all, the file piece is encrypted, and then it is stored in the blob container, which also has the credential. And the credential of the blob container, they are regularly refreshed. They are not static credentials. Okay, all these blob containers are stored in a blob store, which is at a separate physical location. Okay, so that is one store where the content is there. Now, there is another location called SQL Server. So in the SQL Server, as we know, there are content databases. In the content database, there are encryption, there are keys. Okay, whatever files are getting encrypted, those keys are stored in the content database. Okay, one more thing, the file pieces which are encrypted by the keys, those keys are also encrypted. So it's like double encryption for the file itself. So all those keys are stored in the content database, and there is a map also in the content database which knows the location of those file pieces. So that map is used to reassemble all those file pieces to present the file to the end user. So content database contains the encryption keys and the map. So this is second store, which is at the separate physical location for the content. Now, third thing is there is a master key for all these encryption keys, which can actually decrypt the content or decrypt the key. That is stored at a separate physical location, which is called key store. So master key is at the key store. So you can see here that there are three locations where the content is actually present. The blob store, the content database, and the key store. So unless someone has access to all three locations, no one can actually see the content. And you can see that the blob credentials, they are continuously refreshed, and anytime you upload a file or you update a file, all those pieces, even the updated pieces are encrypted by the keys. So this is very high secured environment. Even what any security we can apply to on-prem, this is much more higher secure than on-prem. Now, last topic we will cover is RMS, Rights Management Service. So as I mentioned earlier, that we want to make sure that our documents are secure even after they are downloaded from SharePoint. So with this RMS service, we can protect our SharePoint documents in the document libraries and the list attachments. So there is a setting Microsoft has provided in SharePoint, which is called IRM, Information Rights Management. We actually apply this setting in the list and libraries in our SharePoint, and we protect our sensitive documents. So before we actually activate this information rights management in SharePoint, we first enable the rights management service in Microsoft Azure AD. So this is called Microsoft Azure AD Rights Management. We first enable that setting at the Azure level, and then we enable IRM at the tenant level, and after that, users or the owners can attach or the activate this IRM setting at different list and library level. Okay. So after we make a list or a file IRM protected, then if a person downloads a file from SharePoint, it already has those locks inside the file, or it makes the file encrypted, and it has the access rights or the usernames inside the file, so that only authorized users can take action with the document. So let's see what all different types of restrictions RMS service includes. So it can make a file read only. It can disable copying the text. So what you can do is you can open a document which is confidential document or the protected document. You can copy the text of the document and paste in some other file in OneNote or Notepad or somewhere and use that file instead. So with the RMS, it also disables copying the text of the document. You cannot do Control C, Control V in some other file. You can also prevent people saving a local copy of this document. And we can prevent people from printing the file so that they cannot take the hard copy of the document somewhere else. Now let's see, there are different file types which are supported by RMS. So PDF files, the old Office program files, the newer Office program files, and XPS format. These are supported file types for IRM. The client programs like the printer, the operating system, which can read the IRM supported file types, they actually they see the IRM protection which is embedded in the document, and they lock or unlock the file in order for the user to actually see the document. So let's see, I have enabled my one library which is IRM protected. So let me show you how to enable RMS at the Azure AD level, and then how to activate the service, and then how to apply a setting in a library. So if I go to my tenant, so here I go to Azure AD in my admin center. Let me log in again in my tenant admin. So from, oh, I'm sorry, it's not Azure AD. So under service settings, there is a link rights management. So in the Office 365 admin center, under service settings, rights management, we click that, and here we click manage in order to enable RMS for the Azure AD. So here currently I have already activated this service in this tenant, but if it is not activated, you will see activate button here, so you can actually activate the service. And once it is activated, you will see this, that this is activated, and deactivate button. So once we activate this, then we go back to the admin center and we go to SharePoint admin center. So in this SharePoint admin, we go to settings. So now I'm gonna enable the IRM service. So if you come down, you will see information rights management here. So initially in your tenant, you will see do not use IRM for this tenant as a default selected. But once you wanna activate this service, you select this option, use the IRM service specified in your configuration, and click on refresh IRM settings. So once you refresh, it takes some time to enable this service. Sometimes you may see some error message that this is not activated, or it is actually because it's taking time. So after some time, you click on refresh again, and then you will see a message that IRM has been activated in your tenant. So that means you can now use it. So here I want to show you one example in my Microexcel tenant. Here I have created on So here I have second. If I go to this library, let me log in here with my Microexcel ID. So here, this is one library which I have created, and there's a file here. If I download this file, I have already applied the IRM settings here. So suppose any user is downloading this file. So let me here, I have downloaded this file, and now if I open this file, then here on the top you will see the policy or the setting title and the description. And let me show you that I cannot save as the file. I cannot create a copy of the file. I cannot print this file because of the restrictions applied in this file. And also I cannot copy the content of this file because the permissions are currently restricted. So I can see my permissions by clicking this button and see that the view, I can just view the content. I cannot really do other things with this document. So let me show you in my other tenant that how this is actually done. So if I go to my test site collection, which is here. So there's a library here I have created. So here I go to library and the settings. So I'm showing you that how we can apply IRM in a library or a list. So in the settings, you see information rights management. This link is available for designer or higher level permission people only. So I click on this link. So here you check this checkbox that restrict permission on this library on download. Okay, you give it a title and the description, and this title and description is actually shown on top of the document. So as I showed that there is this file I downloaded. So here on the top you see the same name and the description what you mentioned here. Okay. Now under options, you can see here that you can configure different options related to IRM in this library that do not allow users to upload documents that do not support IRM. So you can enforce that no unsupported file format or file type will be uploaded in this library. Okay. You can also say that after this time the access restrictions are gone. You can also say that documents will not be opened in the browser from this document library. So that I have configured, so I cannot see the document within browser in this library. Now other things you can do is you can configure the access rights for this document. Like you can say allow these things. So by default nothing is allowed, but if you think that some things can be allowed for the document for this library, then you can allow them from here. And you can specify the groups or the credentials which this thing keeps checking in the cache that you can configure from here. So in this way we see that even after downloading the document, we can protect our document. Any person sends these documents by email to someone else, that person cannot open the document because the permissions, the access rights are embedded into the document. So that completes my presentation on security in Office 365. If you have any question, please get back to us, and thank you all for joining. Thank you.